I would love to hear your perspective on what's happening in this country from the perspective of not only a Black man, but also an immigrant.
Yeah, I think, and I love, as you'll notice, like, I always say, I tell my mom, like, I'm Kevin Calculator Langue. Like, everything I do and say, word that I put out there is calculated. I put Easter eggs in everything. You may not find them all, but there's always Easter eggs. And for that, I had been quiet about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Any time over the years where something happened culturally, Black Lives Matter or even the LGBT stuff, I always just stayed quiet because I wanted my platform to be a place where you come to get away from the bad, you get away from all that, and you get to laugh and take a break from your grind and then go back to your grind. And then I got to a point where, like, I just, like, to put it bluntly, I was fucking sick and tired of being scared of police. Like, I'm scared of the police. I'm scared. Just today, I was getting Starbucks this morning, and I saw a cop, and I went the longer way to get my coffee. And I know I'm so sad that I have to think like that. I was telling you guys earlier, like, whenever I move to a new neighborhood, I introduce myself to my neighbors. So then when they see a Black guy walking around at night, they're not scared. I don't even take walks in my neighborhood unless I'm walking the dog. Sometimes I want to take walks by myself. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, I feel awkward doing that. The other day, I was on the phone with my friend, taking a walk, and these people are walking their dogs, and I can tell they're like, who's that guy? And there was a house for sale next to me, and I started to talk to my friend about potentially buying that house, a multi-million-dollar house. I've never seen $1 million, Justin. I'm not buying the house, but I just felt so uncomfortable that I was like, yeah, I'm looking at the house here in Encino. It's, it's just like, and I started to ask myself, like, I can't keep living like this. I have to, like, say something, not just for me, but for everybody else who's going through this. And like you said, I'm an immigrant, right? I came to this country in 2009. I'm not even a citizen yet. I have my green card. Please don't come after me. I pay my taxes.
I'm here for real.
I pay my taxes. I'm here legally. And I was like, I don't know if this is my fight. I'm not an African American. Yeah. I don't have history in this country. My ancestors are still in Africa. But then it hit me. I was like, but I am a Black person living in America. I deal with the same type of thinking as anyone else. And it really, really hit me. I was watching CNN. I don't know if you saw this. Omar was a reporter. I forget his last name. And they arrested him during the first riot.
Super gnarly.
He was so nice. So nice. He'd let him take him in, no issues. He has his credentials. And that's the first time I saw myself in someone. Because that's me. I'm so nice to the cops. Private school kids, college educated. Like, I'm the nice Black guy or whatever. The whitest Black guy on the block. And they're still harassing him. They were still coming after him. And that's when I realized, I'm like, man, this is about race. This has nothing to do with, like, where you're from or hood. This is a racial issue.
Do you mind if, sorry, I just have a question while we're on that, because this has made me curious. Because of growing up in the other places that you've lived.
Yeah.
What is the difference like that? Because, like you're saying, you're not African American, but you're a Black man living in America.
Yeah.
What's it like being a Black man living in France as opposed to America?
So, France, I was 11 when I left, so it's hard to. I can't look back at that. In Africa, obviously, it's completely different. It's the opposite. Like, everyone's Black, so it's never an issue. Yeah. Until I moved to West Virginia, and I was like, oh, I'm in West Virginia. Yeah. So it's hard to say for that. Yeah. I think when I go back to France now, which is not often, I don't feel it as much. I do think France is racist, but it's not in your face as much.
Yeah.
America is just like, there's a lot of history here.
Right. Very much
so it's like, when you see racism, it hits a little harder,
They talk about it as being systemic here because it's been around for so long.
So systemic, man. And we can do 6 fucking episodes on that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
I unfortunately hadn't really ever thought of it that way until recently. And that's been a huge lesson for me, is how systemic it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, also for you moving over here at how old were you again?
I was 15, 16.
You were, okay. So your perspective of it too, like, again, because you weren't living in America. So it's something that you had to probably observe once you got over here as well.
Dude, when I used to play soccer in West Virginia, there were games that people would yell the N-word at me, and I didn't know it was bad.
Yeah.
And I would just smile and laugh like they were calling me bro.
Yeah.
Or like other black people saying the N-word to me. I vividly remember my coach pulling me aside and he said to me, "Don't worry about them. They'll be pumping your gas one day."
Yeah.
Never forget that. And I didn't understand it. I never understood it. As I got older, I got to realize, like, this is racism.
Yeah.
But it took a while, and I finally I made a change when it was like because I had this period of like, this is crazy. I'm not gonna be a U.S. citizen anyway. Like, I'm gonna leave or whatever after I get older. But the reality is, like, I'm not. That would be me abandoning ship.
Yeah.
So what I need to do is make sure that my kids, that's my biggest dream, to be a dad, can fucking play on the street.
Yeah.
Without getting fucking shot. So I need to become a citizen. I need to start voting. I need to start using my voice. I need to do my part. Not for me, because my life is not going to change that much, but for my kids and my kids' kids. And that's when I started posting about Black Lives Matter. That's when I was like, I got to be active. It's not about me. I have it good. I live in a nice neighborhood. My parents are doing okay. Like, it's not going to change my life too much. Well, it might if I get pulled over.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's when you realize it's bigger than you, that's when you start to make a difference. Like the LeBron James is bigger than basketball. Like, it's not about us. It's about the people that come after us.
Yeah.
And if we don't do our job today, our generations after us they're not gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I got to make sure my friends and my kids are okay.
Yeah.
It is, and I think that's a lesson that, first of all, I'm extremely grateful that you gave us your perspective on, because it's so important that we all listen to everyone's perspectives and like where they're coming from and everything. And it is super important because everyone needs to be held accountable, because it's not just your kids, everyone's kids. Like, we need to look at what's happening right now so that way everyone's kids are not dealing with this. Because
and I always say too, like, the number one thing, even for me, is like, excuse me. Oh yeah,
there we go.
Oh,
hey, party.
Is to educate yourself. Not everybody can go protest, or I know you can donate money, and like, maybe you don't want to sign petitions. Like, just learn. I even don't know it all. And I remember I had 2 days where I stopped social media and I just watched documentary after documentary after documentary about Black history in America. And boy, let me tell you something, I didn't know a goddamn thing. You think you know from just watching the news or signing a petition. Like, we don't know. I think the second people start to learn and watch, they'll have that like, oh shit moment.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like that. I didn't realize that, the property tax is what pays for the school system in that neighborhood. And so if you live in a poor neighborhood, property tax is much lower. So that means the school in that neighborhood is much lower, which means you're going to...
And it can be a neighborhood right next to a block away.
It's redlined perfectly so that neighborhood... It's so crazy. And all it takes is like you to set 2 hours out of your day and just read some shit. And I promise you, even if you've never dealt with this, or even if you're a racist person, just read that stuff or watch something. I promise you'll sit there and you'll be like, fuck.
Yeah.
All it takes is one small change in your lifestyle, or like, I don't know. It's just...
That's, I mean, I like to echo what she said a little bit too. Like, you sharing that is so important to me to hear it, for sure. I mean, I really appreciate that from you. Like, for me, like, watching this all unfold, and I was living in Texas right before, like, just a couple months ago, like, as this was kind of starting, like the big Black Lives Matter movement was starting. I was living in Texas, and Texas is a different place than Los Angeles, for sure. But for me, it was like always just trying to figure out, like, where do I belong in this fight? And where do you, like, as an individual, no matter your skin color, where do you belong in this fight? Because we're all on the same side. We have to fight for this. And so like for some of us, like you said, it's donating money. For some, it's signing a petition. For some, it's on the front lines protesting. It's just all, and there is a place for everybody.
Yeah.
You have to find it, and you absolutely need to find it on November 3rd when everyone has to go out and vote, because we have to make impactful change.
Wow, that was a monologue of a lifetime.
I got a boner.
Wow.
I just want to add to like to not I don't want to say to all white people, but like to people who are, how do I say this? Like, don't be afraid to ask Black people or people of color about this. I think a lot of my friends, you know, ask me like, hey, like, can you tell me more about this? Or like, have you dealt with racism? And like, I talk to them and they're all like almost kind of shocked.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to have this conversation. I promise you, like, it may be uncomfortable at first, but like it is for the better.
Yeah.
Like, call your friends who are people of color in this country, text them, call them, ask them questions.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be weird, it's gonna be uncomfortable, but you have to do it. It'll give you a clear idea. I have so many friends back in West Virginia who called me or texted me. Some didn't. I'm not holding them accountable. I'm just saying, I'm waiting for that call, Derek. But, and they kind of were just like, they sent me these long messages. Like, I didn't realize how bad it was. Like, can we jump on a call? And I kind of walked them through it. And I guarantee you, like, I learned a lot from talking to them as much as they learn from talking to me. And I know it's breaking the ice. It's kind of awkward. Everybody's kind of uncomfortable right now. People are like, how do I approach this? I know whenever like there's a Black Lives Matter topic and I'm in the room, I know people are like very careful with their words. Kind of looking over their shoulder. And I just want to let people know, like, it's okay. Like, turn to me, look at me. Hey, like, what do you think about this? I think this. Cool. Let me tell you what I think. You know, it's okay you think like that, but like maybe it could be like this. Like, it's okay. Like, it's conversation. It has to be conversation. If we have conversations, I promise you we'll be all right.
Yeah.